Welcome to another episode of Millionaires Are Made, where we believe that you can be a millionaire in all these six aspects of health. We share tips on how to improve your physical, mental, intellectual, social, spiritual, and financial health. And today we have some amazing guests that are focusing on physical health on the topic of health supplements. So, if you've ever seen Millionaires Are Made, you know that we have a fundamental foundational belief that every person you knows something you don't. And there is something to be learned from everyone out there. And, in the spirit of authenticity, we don't really talk about tips or advice before the show starts. We keep it real. There's no bias, no persuasion, just three awesome people sharing their life's journey. I don't know any of these guys until 15 minutes here before. I just met them all backstage. And we're going to bring them on here with our first guest, Alan. I do want to give an audience shout out to Gavin Pompeius, Debbie Vitez, Misfit Wonders, and one channel number 5. But Alan, tell us, who are you?
Hey, Josh, how are you today?
Doing great,
I
man.
am. I'm Alan Wiederhold. I'm actually the CEO and founder of a psychedelic therapy supplement company called Numa Health. Prior to 2 years ago, had built a national healthcare company, 153 clients all over the U.S., everything from small 50 life group to 8,000 lives. So I built a really enormous thing over a 10, 12-year period and got lost along the way. And about 2 years ago, burning my life to the ground, had everything. I mean, we were kind of joking in the beginning. I flew this morning in my plane. I have all the stuff, but then you get lost. And I had some friends that were talking about psychedelic therapy, and I begrudgingly went ahead and did it. And now I'm a psychedelic therapist. So I actually help other businessmen overcome trauma. And for me, being able to kind of see, we were joking about living in purpose. I get to do it every day. So I get to live what matters the most. And I think you get to a point where you think you have to have everything that you want, but then you eventually learn that you have, this life that you can build with purpose. And I love the show. I mean, because everyone does have the opportunity to be a millionaire. What do you do with it? So that's kind of the journey I've been on. So I've had it, but now I get to do something really fun with it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, as pertains to supplements, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about it and what you do and stuff. But what is your one tip for our audience today?
So for me, I think about I think about spiritual health. So for me, it's mindful meditation. And I said that because I actually got the idea for my supplement from a meditation. So one of the things being a therapist, we talk about brain health and neuroplasticity and the opportunity when you shift your mindset to be able to create these new neural pathways. So for me, it's really getting clear on that spiritual purpose in the morning of just taking a few moments to be present and then being able to look at what is going into your system that's going to fuel the hydration of your brain. So there's a lot of things that are out there for your body, but what are you looking at from your brain? And how do you continue to create new neuroplasticity and facilitate that growth?
Awesome. So, maybe it's a pretty trippy story. I don't know. But, how did you come upon that tip then?
So I was again 2 years ago. I had a lot of friends that were very successful businessmen that weren't happy, and they were having these incredible psychedelic therapy sessions coming out one time, ayahuasca or others, and they were just having these amazing transformations. And I remember fighting it, and I never meditated. I never thought about anything about brain health. And then at the rock bottom of my life, I decided to try it. I came out, and now as I've been leading men through experiences, I see headaches and I see some side effects from these amazing transformations. That just getting clear and being grounded is kind of how I came to it.
Yeah. So to that point, like, what are some of the things that you see as people come out of these very transformational experiences from both a physical and mental standpoint as they make that transition into really living in their purpose?
So a couple of things. So you can't work for me without going through an experience, because if you know, you know. For me to explain, when you see the world for what it can be, and not for actually what it is today, because a lot of what we see today is driven by our ego. It's driven by a reference of something that we had. And I think that's a really good thing when you think about millionaires, or even where you are today. Today is only where you were 3 months ago. Like whatever happened 3 months ago is really what you're kind of seeing today. It's not immediate. So if you can think about what can I do today that's going to move it 3 months down the road, and getting clear on that, I think that's what medicine did for me. Is it showed me that everything that I thought wasn't really true. It was just a historical reference point of something that I had in my mind. And I overcame a lot of trauma. I got to see things and go back into my 4-year-old self, my 5-year-old self, my seventh grade self, and I got to heal all of it. I was a sexual abuse survivor. I actually called my abuser, and I forgave him after this session. So it was absolutely just liberatingly incredible. But when you know, you know. So now I have the ability to go and make a difference every day because of what I've seen.
Man, that's really phenomenal, and just commend your bravery there for going through that and healing that, and especially sharing that with our audience today there, so others can heal from your experience as well. And I think that's a huge thing here, as we move through it and use, like you said, meditation as that kind of supplement to reflect on it. So definitely excited to bring you back on with everybody else. Thank you again for sharing. I want to go ahead and bring on our next guest here and talk about Benjamin's tip here for supplements. So, Benjamin, how you doing today, man?
Hey, Josh, man, I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me on the program today.
Good. Well, tell us, who are you, first of all?
Well, my name's Benjamin Terrell. I've been involved in the insurance industry since about 2009. That's when I first got my licenses. And I've been in and out of the industry, but I've stuck with it because it gives me an opportunity to help people that really don't want to spend a whole lot of time thinking about their health insurance policy, or which one's the best this year, or what should I do, or how do I write it off on my taxes, that kind of thing. So I just solve people's problems with money by using health insurance.
Nice. So what is your tip for our audience here as far as physical health and specifically health supplements?
So with supplements, I mean, you're just you're putting in something in your body to help you do something. So if you're like right now, I'm fasting, and so I need nutrients but not calories, and so that's where supplements come in. It's a measured dose every single day, so I know exactly what I'm putting in my body. It's repeatable. I know what to expect from it. And so I spend a lot of time looking at what's going to have electrolytes in it and what's going to cover those core different essential things that I need while I'm fasting. And a lot of times I look to the vegan quality of supplements. And the reason is they seem to be more bioavailable. They seem to be more digestible, so to speak, for your body. And so your body spends less time breaking them down and just using the nutrients to keep your body running.
Yeah. We were kind of talking before the show and stuff. I personally have had a gallbladder surgery, and so finding, supplements that are going to really be bioavailable to me and not, respond in a negative gut health fashion has been important to me for sure. So, did you kind of have like a similar experience where you kind of come up upon this tip in a way that maybe manifests in a gut health fashion, or we don't want to hear the details.
No. Let's do the
happens behind closed doors. But how'd you come upon the tip?
So if IBS runs in your family, and you know what that is, if you've had that, you want supplements that do focus on gut health. So a lot of probiotics, prebiotics, and things that just work towards the benefit of your gut. You want things that get rid of like the yeast growth that naturally occurs in our body. If you don't want, side problems, and you want to focus on things that kind of quiet the stomach, so to speak. And that's where those both vegan quality, but also probiotics can come into play. And you can get them really anywhere. I mean, the story behind mine is, when I was 6 years old, I listened to my grandparents talk about selling Shaklee vitamins back in the day. And so they sold those, nutrients, because even then they knew their diet wasn't good enough to cover all the needs that their body has. And then later, as a teenager and a young adult, I saw Amway coming out with all theirs, and add that to the most recent one being like Plexus. Those companies, they all tend to fill that need where we know our diet isn't good enough to cover all the supplements that our bodies need. But nowadays, man, I just look at Walmart and Amazon mostly for the supplements I get. Focus on vegan quality ones because they tend to be easier to digest.
Cool. Yeah. And I think that's an important point for the audience as well, is that, we often like look at our budget and look at our supplements and go, oh my God, I've got to spend, $300 or $500 or $1,000 or whatever on supplements, when what you're saying is, as long as you're looking for the right quality of something that's going to affect you, that, you can find it on a budget, right? Like you can get
absolutely
cheap.
Yeah, you can go cheap if you need to, vegan quality if you can afford it. Either way, you need to get those supplements in your body. As a health insurance agent, I've seen the other side. What happens when you don't take care of your body, and you're looking at $100,000 bill for a heart surgery, or you have a stroke and you need, an aneurysm, and you've got brain surgery. Brain surgeons make $30,000 an hour. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself so you don't end up in that situation. You got a less likely chance of ending up in the hospital if you're taking care of your body and paying for the good quality food and the good quality supplements now instead of paying for the health care later.
Oh, that's great stuff, Benjamin. Really appreciate your tip today, and excited to hear what everybody else is when we bring you back on later in the roundtable. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we'll bring you back on here in a minute, but I want to introduce our final guest here. Cam, how are you doing today, man?
Hey Josh, how's it going? I'm doing fantastic.
Good. Well, for our audience, tell us, who are you, Cam Knight?
All right, so I am a coach, international speaker, and author of a dozen books in the area of mental performance, such as speed reading, memory, and concentration, as well as personal mastery, such as self-talk, visualization, and goal setting. And now I talk about a topic that isn't really being talked about, but it answers a question I had my whole life, which is, why is it if I want to do something, I know what to do, I know how to do it, and I have the motivation and desire to do it, but for one reason or another, I can't or don't do it? And over the years, I realized that there's a part of our brain that's designed to hold us back. And it sounds weird, but there's actually a part of our mind built to keep us from growing and making progress. And I call this part resistance. So that's what I mainly focus on now.
Man, awesome. So, as pertains to our topic today, health supplements, it sounds like you'll have a lot to say being a mental performance coach and stuff. But what is your one tip that you could share with our audience today that you feel is most important?
Yeah, I can definitely talk a lot about supplements. And when it comes to supplement, the number one thing I believe a person can do is look at the inactive ingredients. And I'll kind of briefly explain why that's important. So it's kind of interesting, if a person takes, whether it's supplements or not, maybe medication, the same person can have a different response to a generic brand medicine as a name brand. And why is that? It's because very little of a pill or a capsule has the active ingredient we're taking it for, whether it's a supplement or medication. Much of that pill or capsule is fillers, stabilizers, colors, flavors, preservatives, and all of that thing. And all of these things can actually have an adverse effect on different people. So although they're taking the active ingredients, they're taking in all these inactive ingredients that can negate the reason they're taking the active ingredient. So as Benjamin had mentioned, we take supplements to improve our health or improve our mood, but these inactive ingredients can actually affect our health negatively and our mood negatively. So although we might be getting the active ingredient in the supplement, we might be damaging ourselves with the inactive ingredient. And it's really important anytime somebody picks up a bottle or of a supplement, not to get too focused on what the front label says of organic or non-GMO or premium ingredients. They should look to the back in the ingredient list and look at the inactive ingredients. And they want to pick supplements with as little inactive ingredients as possible and try to avoid ones that have too many things. And I can just quickly bat off some stuff that you want to avoid. You want to avoid things like silicon dioxide, rice flour, beeswax, and natural flavors is a big one because a lot of companies hide a lot of negative and the harsher ingredients in the word natural flavors.
Mm.
And what I really like to focus on when I'm doing supplements is to try to get it in powder form because if you get it in a pill or capsule, by the nature of the pill or capsule, you're going to have inactive ingredients to be able to fill that pill or to have it be stabilized in that shape and that color. And the best option that I try to do is try to get it in liquid form. And just because you get in liquid form doesn't mean it's absent of inactive ingredients. It just means it's a lot easier to find it without the harsh inactive ingredients.
Yeah. So to your point about inactive ingredients, are some of these like, you know, what I would call micro allergies or something that are just different processes of the individual that, may not to Benjamin's point, process in our gut as an individual, right, for
Yeah.
beeswax. Like, let's say my gut is unfriendly to beeswax, or like a lactose intolerant type of move. Is that kind of what we're focusing on here, or should watch out for?
I think that's part of it, but I think we want to, when we're taking supplements, we want to take as much good stuff in and try to limit as much bad stuff.
Hmm.
So when you're looking at inactive ingredients, they're not necessarily useful or doing anything. All they're doing is giving a flavor or color or a shape or filling the pill. And so they're not necessarily healthy. And if they're not healthy, then they're likely not healthy. And some people are sensitive to different types of things, but I think we're all sensitive to the inactive ingredients. It's just it manifests differently for different people. For some people, it might kind of give them anxiety or it might give them a headache. But other people, they might not notice that it's affecting them, but it is, and it could be affecting them through inflammation or their digestive process. So I'm not saying necessarily figure out which inactive ingredients to respond to and don't do that. I'm really trying to try to have as little inactive ingredients as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And to your point, even speaking to your expertise, a lot of that stuff is not just gut health and stuff that we would commonly latch onto with the inactive ingredients. It may be anxiety, or mental fog, or just lethargy, or whatever else, right? From a mental aspect, I think. And
Exactly.
and yeah, I personally have experienced some of that too. I feel like
Yeah.
in kind of some of the lower tier, higher commercial, I guess, retail available type of supplements. So very much appreciate your tip, Cam, and your expertise is definitely showing. And I'm excited to bring all of our guests on and kind of share what we've talked about here, with all of our topics and tips. So I want to start by taking Alan's tip of meditation and really focusing on that type of supplement. Cam, what do you and Benjamin think about Alan's tip?
Sam, go ahead.
All right. So, being a mental performance expert, I'm going to say that that's probably one of the best things a person can do. So, as being a mental performance expert, a lot of times people ask me about supplements. And I don't like to go directly to supplements right away. We want to focus on things that can help us get there without supplements first, and then add the supplements if it's not working or just to kind of give that boost. And for mental performance, meditation is one of the best things a person can do. It can help with the brain fog, the clarity that they need, as well as the focus that the person is trying to achieve to be able to do the things that they want. So I guess in other words, what I'm trying to say is meditation is like the best non-supplement supplement a person can take.
I agree wholeheartedly. Do that and also practice gratitude daily. That's lifted my vibration. My moods are so much better because I do spend time meditation, prayer, and just practicing gratitude in the morning and often throughout the day whenever my mood gets low. And that's very helpful. I appreciate that, Alan.
Yeah. Well, and Ben, I'm looking at our comments here from our audience. I had one audience member come on here and say, "Ben, you scare me." So I don't know if that was with gut health stuff there or what we had, but we did have another person come on and ask, are supplements considered natural? And to your point, Alan, of your whole tip here, right? And especially Cam, what you said, like the most natural supplement we can have is none at all and what we can do ourselves, right? And keeping out the inactive ingredients or whatever other kind of foreign stuff that we're putting in our body and focusing on us, right? Like, and the we, right, or the you that you kind of look at there. But
Yes,
Benjamin, your tip was, focusing on gut health in particular. Alan and Cam, kind of what do you guys think about focusing on gut health and being, taking a focus on that for supplements?
Yeah,
Cam,
I
you wanna
can
go?
jump. Yeah, sure, I can jump in. So outside of thinking or looking at inactive ingredients, I think the most important thing a person can do is focus on gut health. Most people don't realize, and we're just starting to understand what a connection our gut has really to everything, even our mental performance. So a lot of times, if we're having issues mentally and emotionally, it's usually related to the gut. And I can speak from personal experience. I had a lot of mental and emotional challenges, which is why I kind of got into studying mental performance as well as supplements and all of that. And what I realized was the biggest contributor to my issues was my gut. And working directly on and healing the gut had a huge and profound effect on the rest of my body and my mental and emotional mood and health as well. And I want to really riff on what he had said about, the gut biome and trying to kind of do things that help heal and fix that because that's really the root of it all.
Nice. Alan, what do you have to add?
I agree. When he was talking, I was thinking I've tried a lot of different things as well. Some were Walmart brand, everything through the most expensive greens that are out there right now. And I remember like I'm now at the age where I have to have a colonoscopy, and just being able to go through that and to be able to see how clean everything was on the inside, because you don't ever think about the inside and what that actually do and what that does to the rest of your body. So just like Cam said, I mean, it creates so many secondary issues that we don't even think about. And I love that from a healthcare perspective too, Benjamin, because on the health insurance side, I used to see a lot of that as well, where there were simple preventable things that people could do rather than have the $100,000 claim down the road.
If I can add one more thing, is a great way to improve gut health is with fermented foods. And a lot of different cultures have ferments. Korean culture has kimchi, Indian culture has achar. And what studies are showing is these cultures that have fermented foods tend to show better signs of health. And one of the things that did help me with my gut health was really focusing on eating more fermented foods. And if a person can do that, they can essentially avoid having to take probiotics because fermented foods have the probiotics the gut needs.
Nice, natural. Look, your experience with this and your professional opinion here is super valuable. You've shared some great insights, and I
Thank
want to
you.
hear what Benjamin and Alan kind of think about your tip that you shared about inactive ingredients as well, because I think that's a hot topic we're talking about here.
It sounds a lot like the best supplement is good whole foods because there's
Yeah.
no site. You know exactly what's in there, right? Especially if you live near the farm where you get your food. I grew up in Iowa mostly, which meant the steak I'm eating today was mooing yesterday, and so I knew where it came from and what they were feeding and all that kind of stuff. And to me, that's important. You got to look for those because you're going to get side effects from everything you take into your body. You want to make sure the side effect is good health.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, just even talking about what Cam was talking about, I created a supplement. So working in the lab and looking at what's real, what's natural, what's not, what's filler. You can use all kinds of fancy labels. My team, we always joke about woo-woo science because there's so many things that are on the market today that have no foundation at all in science. It's just, they say they are, but when you really look at the ingredients and the things that are behind it, nothing in there is really worth taking. So I love that, Cam, that you had said that, because you have to be very mindful what you're putting in, because in the US, we are very unregulated as opposed to other countries. We can put food color, we can put additives, we can put anything in to mask everything we want. And in other countries, they're using real things, carrots and like for orange, other things like that. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually had a question from the audience that kind of leans into that too. Silver Fox Fitness said, "I am 67. Should I take synthetic nutrients?"
My answer is a wholeheartedly no. Anything synthetic, just get it out of your shelf, out of your house, out of your sight. Like nothing synthetic.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem with that is once you start, you're going to do it forever, because once you go off, everything's just going to go revert back to normal anyway of where it was.
Yeah. Agreed.
Why would, it's kind of interesting that someone would even ask that question, because it, why would you want to put something synthetic in your body? Like, it's not even a question that should be on our minds. We shouldn't be taught to think that synthetic is okay. And as Benjamin had mentioned earlier, the more we can get our nutrition and nutrients from whole foods, like going to farmers markets, eating fruits and vegetables, and not things from wrappers or things that we have to, open a plastic bag to get into.
Yeah.
The more we can do that, the more we can get the nutrients that we need. So synthetics aren't even necessary.
Yeah. Well, and we had another question here from the audience. It says, what should I do if I experience adverse reactions from a supplement?
Stop.
Yeah.
Switch to a different one. Absolutely. But always, this advice comes from somebody who's not a doctor. Always, kind of work these things out with your doctor or another professional who knows nutrients inside and out. Someone like the two gentlemen I'm here with today. You want to make sure that you're taking in such good stuff that the side effects are minimal at best.
Yeah, I want to add to that. If a person's having side effects, from my experience, it's usually because of the inactive ingredient. So I would look to see what inactive ingredients are there. If they're gaining the benefits from the active ingredient, then look for an alternative source of getting that active ingredient. Like I said, it is possible to get it. Sometimes we need to go away from pills and capsules and more into powder and liquid form. Or try to see if that can be achieved through food itself. I love this one quote: "Let food be thy medicine." If you take care of the food, you don't need the medicine. I know I butchered that, but something like that.
Yeah, great wisdom there.
Yeah.
And Silver Fox Fitness that had commented about the synthetic nutrient added. Thank you, Cam. And one of my friends recommended it too, and she just kind of super confused there about having a recommendation from a friend, but it being a synthetic nutrient. So it seems like very much valued your experience there, and that is very much appreciated by our audience. So, well, I kind of want to pitch it to you guys too here. We always do a daily challenge. And so what do you guys think our daily challenge could be for ourselves and our audience there as related to health supplements?
If you don't already, just take some vitamin D. Just take some vitamin D, especially if you live in an area where you don't get a lot of sun. Yes. In the purest form you can, ask Cam where to get it.
Yeah.
But just take vitamin D. You will not believe the difference in your mood.
This is the purest form I found. So yeah.
Excellent. Let's get that link out there to people.
Yeah, if we can get that link out there, that'd be great. We definitely want to help people with
Taking vitamin D is like
Millionaire in
adding
their physical
sunshine.
health, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
taking vitamin D is like adding sunshine.
Yeah. I would encourage people to consider the fact that now we live in a time where it's harder to get the nutrients into our body, and it's for three main reasons. One, back in the day, we used to live out more in nature. Even in big cities, there was a lot of nature, and nature has a lot of molecules that is very nourishing to our bodies. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the bottom of our feet is highly absorbent. So back in the day, we used to walk barefoot in nature, and a lot of the nutrients we needed, we would actually absorb through the bottom of our feet. In fact, there's a saying, if you walk uh, barefoot in nature an hour a day, it'll keep the depression away. So what I would recommend is to try to get out into nature, and if possible, just walk barefoot into nature, and not necessarily like man-made parks, but like real nature, like forest preserves or state parks or things like that. Um, Something's better than nothing, so man-made parks are fine, but if we can get out to more raw, rough nature, it'll give us a lot of the nutrients and supplements we need just naturally.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, look, I want to thank all you guys for being on the show here today and helping all of our audience become millionaires in their physical health. I also want to thank all of our sponsors again, Gavin Pompeius, Debbie Vitez, Misfit Wanderers, One Channel Number 5, and everybody who tuned in here today to watch Millionaires Are Made. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Josh. This is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Thanks, everybody.